that brings us to our watch party. So if you're not familiar, the watch party is something we do every week. We talk about 2 episodes of a show chosen by you, the listeners and viewers. And we are doing Shirobako. We are about halfway through, almost at the end of the first cur. We are on episodes 11 and 12.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you guys think of these episodes?
Starting off.
More good stuff. Like, I don't know enough of the industry to know what else they'll be talking about. But yeah, this is all about networking. And this next 2 episodes, knowing people in order to finish a project. And they rely, like a lot of production assistants rely on getting animators. They don't have enough. They have a limited amount within their studio, but they do freelance work or contract work to outsiders that are looking for jobs. So, yeah, Miyamori.
Yeah.
God, I'm surprised I got that right.
You did well.
Yeah, just her trying to like find someone to do like the last 20 or so cuts or 30 cuts. Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine how long that takes. And then no one can do it because it's that time of the year. Everyone's finishing up their series. Everyone's busy. And that's so stressful to see that. Like, oh my goodness, like, is she gonna find anyone?
Yeah, this show is so stressful that way. There's always something where it's just like, we got to get this done, but we don't have the time, the budget, or the people. How do we make this work? And just every time I'm like, oh, it's so stressful.
Yeah, and like, part of me is like, well, what if there was just more time, more money, and more people? Because that would just eliminate all my stress. But obviously, that's not how this works. And it's really cool to see how they make it work.
Yeah.
That is my favorite Tim Gunn phrase from Project Runway, the make it work. Because it's really inspiring to me. Even though this show like has me like on edge a lot of the time, just like so stressed out. It's also like so incredibly rewarding when you pull through and you get something done, even if it's not, exactly how you wanted it or not perfect.
Yeah. But getting to the finish line.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. So we have a couple of comments from the Facebook group. Definitely joined, by the way. Giselle De Silva says, another episode that shows us that Taro is useful in banding everyone together in mutual agreement because anyone they hire will be better than him. I love that. So, yeah, we talked about a couple episodes back that Taro is super annoying. But I do agree that his use as a character, at least, is in creating this common, like, not enemy, but, like, bonding agent.
Bonding agent.
Because that common frustration is often what brings coworkers together.
Yes. Speaking of, they are interviewing people to replace that PA that left for another. Yeah. So that's what. Yeah. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. Greg Garner says, when I was first interviewing, I remember thinking, I'll do anything as a selling point for potential employers. The flashback to one of Miyamori's previous job interviews hit home for me. It made me realize that I never had a particular goal and didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that struck me as well. That was pretty powerful.
Yeah. Like when I was first freelancing, it was kind of this thing where it's like, oh, what kind of games do you play? I'll play anything. When really no one plays everything.
Right.
No one does everything.
Yeah.
You might think of yourself as a jack of all trades kind of thing. Like, I can juggle a lot of different things. And I think being able to juggle a lot of different skills is in itself a skill.
Right.
It's not like I'm just fantastic at everything. It's like, oh, I have this multitasking skill. Versus being like, oh, I'm really good at, I like anime and I like Pokemon and those are my skills.
Yeah, like your specialties. What do people need? Yeah. Like I understand you don't want to pigeonhole yourself. Like I don't want to have everyone come to me for like one, probably like keyframes in anime or this thing.
Totally.
So I think she wanted to be open minded. Like I'll do anything to get into the business. And it's like but you don't know what you want to do because you're not giving a specific answer about what you can do.
Yeah, it's very powerful for that kind of like. When I got out of high school, pretty much everybody I knew didn't really know what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of this like, oh, I'll take all the classes in college and I'll do all of the different jobs and I'll take all the freelance assignments and all this stuff. And that works for a little while, but it's interesting to see like how she's grown and kind of how you come from the open-ended, not really knowing where you want to be, to finding your path through something.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, Megan Murphy. Shout out to Megan Murphy because we have a really solid comment. I love the Facebook group because we get these like really detailed breakdowns. It's this collaborative effort.
We do. I think we only have time to like read the first couple of paragraphs, but it's really wonderfully detailed. I love that. That's so cool.
Let's do that,
Thank you for that.
That second one right there.
So Megan Murphy says, in this episode, the pairing of Miyamori's interview flashbacks alongside Musani interviewing new hires is really great storytelling. It shows us Miyamori's development while advancing the plot and spiking our intrigue about potential new characters. I think Miyamori's realistic yet struggling experience with the struggle in production field makes her a really good judgment of character to pick out the right hires. It was cute how she was encouraging even the most spastic, nervous hires on with her vigorous nodding.
Yes.
She's just like,
I love that. It's like, yes, you can do it.
And then she also notes, I just want to point this out, it's funny how they all knowingly realize the mistake, quote unquote, that is Taro, yet do nothing about it. To me, Musani Animation is a charming patchwork of eccentric personalities spanning all ages and backgrounds, and their tight-knit family. I really liked that.
Yeah.
I like that this company, you get a lot of different perspectives, and that enriches the show, I think.
Yeah, it makes the characters stand out from each other, too, because there's so many you have to keep track of what they do and who they are and how they affect overall things. And so everyone hates Taro, but you remember him.
Yes.
Because you know him in real life.
That's true. And there's must be a reason why they hired him.
Yeah, he must be good at something.
Yeah, like the interview probably went well. He probably knew what he was talking about. But then when it comes down to the actual
or they were desperate and the office was on fire and they're like, we need you to help put this out. And
hey,
like,
put out the fire. Also, can you stay and just be a PA?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think, to be a little more forgiving to Taro, I think everybody has their bad moments or bad days. It just seems like he has a lot of them. But I do want to back up a little bit and talk about, the fact that we have all these different personalities, even though they can be hard to keep track of, is they all reflect off of each other. So it's this really interesting character study because you look at Miyamori thinking back on her first interview, seeing a new character come in, new characters come in to interview, and contrasting them, you get more depth of understanding of Miyamori too, and versus like how Taro is, and thinking like, well, Miyamori might have felt like a total disaster in her interview, but Taro just is a disaster.
Yeah. So it's that rock bottom that's underused. Well, at least I'm not Taro.
Yeah. It's one of those things that like you can use to make yourself feel better, but I would still feel bad about, I'm like, oh, Taro, you try.
Oh yeah.
At least he doesn't slack off completely. Yeah. Like, he does try a little. Oh, yeah. Just it's very annoying. Yeah. Moving on to episode 12, just because we're running out of time here. Exodus Christmas.
Yes.
I like this episode.
It's so cute.
So here Miyamori gets a connection and now has to go to this huge anime director, I believe.
Yes.
Who
really
worked
on
Neo Generation Aving Dolan.
I wonder what that's a reference to.
But talking to this hugely inspirational, just a huge part of anime, being able to talk to that through connections that she made. Now finding out that Suge was this legendary animator this whole time.
Yes. Okay, but what's cute is that our audience on the Facebook group picked up that this is a major cameo for the show because this is actually the guy who made Evangelion.
Yes.
Yeah. Huge cameo.
Yeah, yes. Big cameo.
Actually, Taylor Grant says right here, Mitsuaki Kano, who's actually Hideako Anno. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yes.
The guy who made Evangelion.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great. I love seeing those.
Actually,
I have no idea who they are, but
Yeah, but there are 3 cameos.
Oh yeah.
I guess
that Taylor points out.
Yeah, so there was Mitsuaki Kano, which is Hideako Anno. There's Masahiko Inami, which is Masahiko Minami, who's a former Sunrise producer. And then he split off to do Studio Bones. So
that's so cool.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
This cameo, the person who founded this Bones. This is so cool.
And then there's Keiji Takekura, who is Yuji Matsukuda, and he's a producer from JC, staff responsible for things like the Certain Railgun Index anime franchise, Golden Time, Toradora, Honey and Clover, Bakuman, and a very large chunk of JC's entire staff portfolio.
Wow.
Toradora and Honey and Clover.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then just backing up for Masahiko Minami, he's responsible for production and planning of like Full Metal Alchemist, Cowboy Bebop, Escaflowne, Space Dandy. That Taylor Grant Franklin points out. That's a big deal. Those are 3 huge cameos.
Yeah.
Which is that's something I didn't know the first time I saw this show. Like I didn't know to pick up on that stuff. Because it's a little hard if you aren't trying to find cameos, like I was just watching the show just to watch it.
Exactly.
Right.
So
I could tell that, the Hideaki Anno was obviously like a huge cameo, but everyone else was like, oh, I didn't know that. So
Yeah. So this is just really cool. This is why I like the watch party so much, is we get to like slow down and point out these things that I know I didn't notice or overlooked the first time. But yeah, we're about out of time. So join us next week if you'd like to participate in the watch party. We're going to be doing episodes 13 and 14 of Shirobako. You can find it on Crunchyroll, etc. We have that all in the article for the podcast on IGN.com, so you can keep track of where to find the show, how to follow along with the watch party.